Windows Server 2022. Welcome back everybody. I'm Prakash Pradhan, your trainer for this entire series. In this topic, we are going to talk about one of the most important roles that you find with the Server 2022. That's called a server for NFS. So first let's see the requirement why you need to have this NFS. Then we'll see the practical implementation of your server for NFS. Now, normally what happens that in your network, you used to share the resources in a form of your file server, because I do understand that the file server is the one of the most important service that every server or the system administrator need to work in their day-to-day activities actually, and they are going to work for a lot of file and the sharing and your load balance for the file server. It might be in a form of DFS, NLB, so many things are there. That means the most important thing over here it comes is the sharing resources. But while working in a client-server architecture, it's not sure that all of your clients are from the Microsoft. That means there might be some of the operating system that those of the clients, they might be having the operating system from other OS. That means it might be from the Linux as well. Okay, but the most commonly we use over here is from the Microsoft. But we do have one more option over here in a form of your server for NFS that's going to help you actually in order to set the communication with the help of the protocol for sharing the resources between two different types of operating system as well. That means your operating system, if the client is having in their system as a Linux, and your server that you are going to host it as a file server is from the Microsoft, okay, Windows Server operating system, in that case this Linux operating system and the Windows operating system, they need to have a common set of rules so that the resources can be accessed by the Linux. Otherwise the protocol that's been used by default by the Microsoft will not be in a form of readable form to the Linux. So that's why you need to understand what is the role of this NFS in your server role. Now let's see that the server role for NFS role actually it helps you, or it enables computers to share files with the Unix based computers and other computers. That means if you have got the operating system that supports a different type of protocol, in order to use any kind of share resources, you need to have a NFS server for NFS role over here. So that's why other computers that use the network file system protocol, that means you might have a different device, you might have a different operating system that do not use your most commonly used SMB share over here. So in that case, you might be using the network file system protocol over here. For example, you might have been using NAS. So NAS actually it's a file based protocol use one device. That means if you would like to access a file that's been stored or that's been saved in order to use as a resource in your network, they are going to use the file based protocol, okay, not SMB actually. So now let's go ahead to the server and see how we can install the role of your server for NFS and how we can configure and how the file can be stored. Okay, so let's go ahead straight away to the server. Okay, now as you can see, now we are in a server, server 2022, and let's see the step-by-step process of installing your server for NFS. So let's go to the server manager. Obviously, as I've already mentioned that the server for NFS is actually a role. It's not a feature. Of course, the other supporting features that need to be added along with this role is going to be added itself. So for which we don't have to worry. So let's go to manage and install your role for your server for NFS. So let's go to next. Next, this is the information of your domain name and your IP. I do believe everybody knows that since we have been doing this video since long. So let's go to the file and storage services. Don't forget your server for NFS, okay, is under this file and storage services. So expand it bit, you'll find at the bottom over here server for NFS. Okay, so let's add the feature. Of course, as I told you, it's not only the role, it's going to add some of the features that need to be installed in order to function this NFS properly. Go to next, and of course nothing else left, just you'll have to wait for a few more seconds before it gets installed. So let it get installed. As I often say that in my system I have installed so many virtual operating system, so it might take a bit lengthy now. So that's why, so by the time it gets installed, I'm going to pause the video and we'll meet after the installation is done for the server for NFS. As you can see now, server for NFS role has been installed successfully. Now after this, we are going to see how to configure it manually. So let's close it. Now Normally what we do all the time, that after any kind of roles or the features has been installed in your server, in a Windows Server 2022, we intend to go to tools and look for that roles or the features. But normally this server for NFS is actually, it's a kind of one protocol, so that's why you don't find it over here. Not this usually, so that's why we're going to go to the files and storage, and we're going to start our work by sharing the resources. So let's go to share using NFS. Let's go to tasks and new share. So now, as I told you that normally whenever we share any kind of files or the folder over the network in your client server architecture or using Windows Server operating system, we always use your SMB share actually. Now since this NFS has been added, so we are going to see this NFS. Now if you'd like to see that what about the previous folders that have been created, and I'm interested to save that folder as well using this NFS so that the other operating system also can access that file. Of course you do have option. Now as soon as you install a server for NFS, you go to the any of the folder that you would like to share with using NFS, go to the properties, you'll find the tab saying that NFS sharing. That means now you are able to share this folder for non-Microsoft operating system as well. Okay, so this option is over here. Now let's go back and do our work. So I'm going to use NFS share, next, and I'm going to use a custom path. Okay, let's go to the custom path. So let's go to the drive where we can use a space. I'm going to create one folder. So let's say the name of this folder is NFS. Okay, now select a folder. We're going to use the same theme, obviously. So this folder, okay, select it. Now go to next. This is the name by default, the path of this folder, and we're going to select all of this. Let's go to next, and here this is the important screen. That means you need to add the destination whom you want to give a permission to access these resources. Okay, so you have two options, either all machines, or you can go for the specific also. Like let's say you have only one Linux operating system in your network as a client, and you want that client to be able to access your file from the server, okay, using two different protocol even. So in that case you can add an IP address of that client or of that workstation over here. Otherwise we can try at this, since we are in a lab environment, we can go for the all machines. Okay, now if you'd like to go for the root access, which is not actually recommended, you can go for that also. Now add it all machines. Okay, now all machines, what access you have? No permission on that folder. So what would you like to do in that folder? I would like to give permission for the read and write. Okay, so edit. Now you see on that folder, okay, now the users will have permission to read and write. Root, it's disallowed. Okay, so let's go to next. So these are the permission. If you'd like to go for the customized permission using the username or the any client that you have in your network, it is up to you. Now as I said, since we are in lab environment, we are simply going to say how it can be installed and how it can be configured. So that's why I'm going to go for the next. Now it's saying that this is the folder, local path, it is not cluster, name of the server is server, and the share name is NFS, and the protocol, you see, this is most important, we are using the protocol NFS. Now we are going to create it. Congratulations, now successfully using NFS you have been able to share the folders or the files from your network. Now if I go to the properties of this folder that I've shared just now, and you'll find that the detailed information over here, he see this NFS, it's not shared for others, this network one, okay, network path, entire information is there. If I go to the NFS sharing, you will understand that this folder is being shared with the protocol called NFSC. Now that means our work is successfully done. If you like to go further, manage this NFS sharing, you can have option over here to click, select this option, manage, and you can bring the changes that we have selected last time. Okay, so I hope it was very easy to you to understand how NFS can be installed, what is the main purpose of installing this NFS in your network infrastructure, and so that your other operating system apart from the Microsoft or let's say the Linux can easily have an access to your files and folder that's been stored in your server. But don't forget, in your server for NFS role has to be added. So if you find it fruitful and easy going it was, please do like and subscribe. Thank you.